guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video, which once again is a special video, but this time it's special because it features a full in-depth review of a brand new generation of Golf GTI, something that only ever comes around every 7 or 8 years. It is of course the Mk8 that you see here. Now this video wouldn't have been possible without the help of the guys at Mk8 Volkswagen Cheltenham, and to thank them for that I've agreed to list in the description of this video below a number of the performance Golfs they've got for sale. So if you're looking for a new one, check that out. Now the purpose of this video is not to make a direct comparison with the new car and my own Mark 7.5 GTI TCR, which I've previously called the best non-limited Golf GTI ever made. It's more to see if this entry-level car has got the foundations to finally eclipse this car when the more powerful versions come along. Could a Mk8 GTI be the best Golf GTI ever? Well, let's find out. Okay, we're going to start off then by looking at the exterior of the new GTI, then at its interior, and then of course we're going to go for a drive. I've brought my Mark 7.5 GTI TCR here, not because it's a direct rival for this car, it's more of a rival for the Club Sport that's coming soon, but just because I thought it'd be good to have the two cars together so you can compare and contrast. I'm sure the comments are going to be full of people saying you prefer the looks of this car, and I do too, but it's all about the driving, which we'll come to later. Having the two cars together is handy as well because it's made me realise that this is a lot darker. Pure grey is a lot darker than Moonstone grey, which is a £375 extra on this car. If you want paint as well as primer, you have to spend £625, and for that you can have Atlantic blue or Dolphin grey, I'm not sure if that's the Audi colour, or deep black or reflex silver. £755 buys you King's Red, which is sort of that colour, and then for £1,040 you can have Oryx White Mother of Pearl. The free colour on the GTI is pure white, which I think looks really good with the red bits, and you can save your money and then upgrade these wheels because these 18-inch Richmonds look pretty terrible, universally disliked on social media. For £725 you can have the 19-inch Adelaide wheel, which is really nice, but you've got to be careful because on the manual car it puts the first year road tax up £330. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I've just noticed as well it's got GTI on the tyre. That is a first. That's amazing. That just shows what kind of effort they've been to with the chassis on this car to get these tyres specially tuned for it by Bridgestone. That's amazing. Just a shame the wheels look so bad. And it's not that you really need 19s, you are better off with the ride comfort of an 18-inch with a 40 section tyre. It's just they look so set into the bodywork. On this car it's got non-standard Oz wheels, and they're 18-inch as well. They've got 235/40 tyres, so they're wider, but they're an 8-inch wheel, and all that width is on the outside, which gives the car a bit more stance that this car is sorely lacking. Now this car's been described as the equivalent of the old GTI Performance because it's got 245 PS and it's got the VAQ front differential, which we'll come to when we do the driving, but rather disappointingly the brakes don't look like the Performance model. I'll show you on this side because it's a bit more visible. So when you go and look at cars, you can tell a GTI Performance from the base model 7.5 or 7 because the 7 has got this cutout bit in the brake caliper, and the Performance model has got calipers more like that. Also, if you put your fingers in there, you can really get it easily in between the wheel and the brake disc. On this car you can't, so that tells me that's a bigger brake disc. That's a 340 and that's a bit smaller, so that's a bit disappointing because it's not really then the same as the old GTI Performance, but you've got the important bits. You've got the 245 PS and you've got that VAQ front differential, which is much harder to retrofit than some upgraded brakes. Okay, styling wise then, well, we've got the very distinctive air dam at the front of it, which is, yeah, quite open I suppose. So you've got intercooler, radiator, aircon rads in there. You've got these 5 LED lights in there that I think are fog lights, not even daytime running lights. So yeah, it's got an aggressive front. I think it hangs together better than the standard model because we've got a bit more down here, so it looks a bit more in proportion. But then I still think this looks better, but yeah, let's not go on. Now this car starts at 33.5 grand or thereabouts. 1,500 quid extra for DSG means that this is a 35 grand car here, plus the paint is a few hundred quid, so really it's pretty much bang on 35 for this. That's about 1,500 quid more than the old 7.5 GTI Performance. So whilst you might lose the brakes, you gain probably more usefully the LED matrix headlights, which were always about £1,000 extra on Audis. They weren't an option on this car actually, you just got normal LEDs here, but these are amazing. They're called the IQ lights, so it's not all negative. You might lose the brakes, but you do gain, and there are other areas where you gain as well. So that's the front of the car. We've got body coloured mirrors. We've got this sort of very rubber thick sill cover here, which is good because, as I've mentioned before, on the Mark 7s and non-TCR 7.5s, the sill cover leaves a lot exposed at the bottom of it, which can get chipped. So that looks pretty good to me. At the back, well, everybody hates the position of the badge, but I don't really have a problem with it. It's exactly what you'd expect. You've got the two wheelbarrow exhausts. That was trademarked by Mr. Ben Barry of Car Magazine. And you've got a sculpted bumper, which actually is a bit more interesting than it maybe once was, but there's no sort of fake diffuser or anything on this car. That's probably going to come with the Club Sport. And of course, can we get under there? We have the multi-link suspension setup. Yeah, no Seat cheapskatery here. So that's really the outside. I think that means it's a good time to have a look at the inside. So we have got keyless entry and go, and we've got folding mirrors as well. Can I demonstrate them? Who knows? There we go. That was missing from the style model that I tested 3 months ago, so that's why I'm making a point of it. And this is where I get really confused and can't get in the car now. Hurrah! Okay, right, we have some form of tartan. It's a bit toned down over the other car. A lot of people didn't like that, you know. A lot of people preferred leather or the art velours, which toned it down, but I think they've toned it down a bit here, so it's not as bold, and I think it looks a little bit more acceptable to most people. You may have noticed headrests now are out of fashion, and we've got this one-piece seat. Whether it's because it looks sporty or whether because it's cheaper, I don't know, but it does look good. It's not any more sporty than the ones in the TCR. What's interesting though is that we've got a bit of Alcantara in here, which is a spec upgrade over the old cars. That's actually quite nice. So yeah, not bad. And there's a flash of red on the side of the seat, you can see there, so that lifts it up a bit as well. Door cards are pretty boring. We've got this honeycomb trim there. That's been a GTI sort of trademark since the Mark 5. That's all right, but it does look pretty. Got flocked door bins though, thank God. Manual adjustment of the seat in every way. Lumbars on the side there. In the footwell, we've got slightly dirty. Sorry about that. Red stitching in the mats. That's a nice touch, and we've got brake and throttle in stainless steel. Unlike the German cars, we get a horrible plastic footrest there. And no locker here, which I did say I didn't really miss in Mark 8, but now I've been running a 7.5. I use this for my microfiber to clean the touchscreens. Okay guys, welcome to the cabin of the Mark 8 Golf GTI. I've wanted to say that for a very, very long time. And the first thing you notice is that it does feel a bit more premium than the Leon that I gave back to Seat UK a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't really come over in the photos, but I think it's held its own, unlike the A3, which is definitely a downgrade in quality. Yeah, some bits have gone down here, but overall the cabin ambience is good, and that's because it's such a clean, simple design as well. Unlike the Leon, we get these shortcut buttons. I'll just fire the car up so we can use the screen. So the Leon doesn't have these, which means that climate is not as easy. It's still quite easy when you know how, but it's just nice to have the climate button there. On this car we've also got driving modes, so we've got modes there which you can slide through. You can select like that, or you can do it that way as well. There's no normal mode though, which is weird. That's vanished. And also what is weird is that if you go into the individual mode settings, the chassis on this standard car with standard dampers has got two options, comfort and sport, which we'll talk about when we do the driving. Another shortcut on here is for the assist systems, which are ever present now in these modern cars, and you can't even switch them off permanently. So if you take that, you can see what we've got. We've got lane assist, we've got adaptive cruise control, which I quite like. We've got side assist, so we've got this light in the mirror there, which can we trigger it? Yeah, there you go. And then we've got dynamic road sign display, so it will read the road signs and display them on the cluster. So just turn the music down with that slider. And we've got one other thing, driver alerts, that'll tell you you've been driving for too long. And eco assist, I'm not sure. Oh, that's a little light that tells you to come off the gas when you're approaching a junction, which can be a bit annoying, but yeah, it's there. Front assist is the emergency braking, which is good, and emergency assist. So there's a lot there, but you can turn stuff off, but unfortunately a lot of it will come back on. So if we turn lane assist off there, let's turn the car off, and then let's turn it on again, and then let's go back into that menu and do that, and then that, you see it's back on, which is a bit of a drag really, because lane assist on these new cars is a bit intrusive. Although I drove this for quite a long time yesterday, it didn't annoy me too much, which was makes a change, because the Leon was really quite annoying. But that had a button on the steering wheel where you could access the systems, but you had to do it every time, which, as I say, is a bit of a drag. On this car we've got a heated steering wheel, which is a novelty for a Volkswagen. There you go. I don't know why they give you that, but they unfortunately don't give you heated seats anymore, which have been a GTI trademark since 2016 on the back end of the Mark 7s. That's a bit of a shame, but it's available as part of the winter pack on this steering wheel. This isn't individual buttons, but there's this haptic sort of click to them, and they all work pretty well. And when you turn the car off, it just goes completely black. Let's do that. Probably takes time, but all these, normally on the buttons, they're painted white. On this, it's like backlit. Okay, let's have a look at the instrument cluster then. So you can have your rev counter, and you can have your speedo if you want. You can have a big speedo in the middle like that if you want. When I say a big speedo, just the number. And here we have a GTI specific rev counter with speed in the middle. How cool is that? There is another one somewhere, I think it's an assist systems one, that one, which gives you the speedo just there on the right hand corner, which is quite handy if you're making YouTube videos. So yeah, I quite like it. We've got ambient lighting here, which when I picked this car up, I was very disappointed to find out it was blue. Why would you have blue? It's not on R. But luckily it's not too hard to change it. He says background. I mean, there's all these options. It's crazy, isn't it? Look, it's all changing. But it's got to be red in the GTI. Come on, come on. Where's red? Where's red gone? Yeah. Yeah, that's more like it. So we've got ambient lighting there, and in the back seats as well. And none of it on the dashboard like in the Leon, thank God for that. So yeah, it's all right. We haven't got red on the seat belts, unfortunately. There's a bit of red stitching on here as well to brighten it up. Yeah, I mean, bearing in mind this is the entry-level GTI, I think it's all right. Got a black headliner as well. We've got plastic trims. Yeah, that's the downgrade from 7.5, if that bothers you. Well, it's okay, it's fine. We have got the touchscreen touch lights here. Do they actually dim? I haven't actually worked that out yet. So smack it on. Yeah, they dim. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's have a look in the back then. So let's make sure I'm in my driving position, which is roughly there, I think. It does have selective unlocking, so let's unlock the car. You can tell I'm a professional. Okay, well, let's see what we got then. So, why is it bonging at me? Vehicle key is not in vehicle. Well, it is now. Okay, so here we are in the back of the Mark 8 Golf GTI, and there's loads of room. These seats don't really intrude too much. We've got the lovely phone pockets there, like we had on the normal Golf. We've got a bigger pocket there for like a tablet, and we have got this temperature thing in the middle here. So this must be the third zone of the climate control. So yeah, that's a nice touch. The rear vents are pretty horrible actually. But there we go. I don't think anybody will notice those, but that's nice. And as you'd expect, there is a fair bit of room because it's the Golf, isn't it? Let's have a look in the boots. Now the bad news is you have to pay extra for a space saver spare wheel. It's about £100. So in this car we've probably got tyre foam. It's a tricky one really because it does add weight to the car, which you're going to carry around all the time, but if you have a puncture you would regret not having it. So we've got the 2 level boot, which is in the lowest setting now, and under there there is not an awful lot, but unlike in the Leon, at least it's carpeted. That means a lot to me anyway, although we've still got those nasty brackets for the split fold visible there, but no, it's all right. In fact, this looks better than A3, which is a bit of a weird world we live in. This is presumably some sort of toolkit. Yeah, so we've got the pump and the foam there, so that's basically the boot as well then. So yeah, that's the boot. Now let's have a look under the bonnet. Because it's a GTI, you want to see this bit, don't you? I do. Got the pull on the right hand side, and we haven't got a telescopic strut, which means I'm going to have the bonnet resting on my head. Okay guys, well normally I say at this point, here we have the familiar EA888 engine, but it's not very familiar when it's got this very cheap unbranded engine cover on it. It could be anything. This is what they used to look like. It's not exactly opulent, but at least it's got some colour and it's got the proud Volkswagen badge on it. And they should be proud because underneath this cover is probably one of the best 4-cylinder engines they've ever made. It's evolved into something reliable, efficient and fast. In this car it produces 245 PS, that's 241 brake horsepower, about 370 Newton meter of torque, which is an exact match for the old Mark 7.5 GTI performance. But somewhere along the line it's lost about 0.2 seconds in the 0 to 62 time. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's a little bit heavier, who knows, but whatever. Let's go and find out how it really drives. Forget the stats, let's go and drive it on a wonderful British country road. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of Golf 8 GTI. I can't believe I'm saying those words. I have to pinch myself to make sure it's true, but here we are. It's all thanks to the guys at Mk8 Volkswagen Cheltenham. I've been wanting to drive this car for a very long time and share it with you on the channel, and the chance to drive a very early right-hand drive car, UK spec, exactly like it would be if you bought it, is an unbelievable opportunity. Now what defines this car is the chassis, which we'll come to shortly. Let's get the basics out of the way. So we've got 7-speed DSG. This car's basically the GTI Performance Mark 7.5. So it's got 245 PS. It's got the VAQ front differential, which is basically a clever limited slip differential. That means when you power out of a corner, normally in a front wheel drive car, powering out would make it understeer more. This actually helps you tighten your lines. So let's just try it here. It's got leaves on it, it's a bit greasy, it's tight. Bloody hell, that was nearly full throttle then, and it didn't run wide at all. That's, yeah, pretty good. Whew. What we don't have though are the brakes from the GTI Performance, but I think this isn't really a track car, to be perfectly honest, so I don't think that's too much of an issue. If you're going to upgrade them for the track, fine, you can do that. You can't really fit a VAQ front differential very easily, so I think they've done the right thing. I always felt a bit sad when people bought the normal GTI that wasn't the performance model, because they were really missing out on a defining feature of that car if you're into your driving. Now what slightly mystified me about this car is that it seems to have 2-stage dampers. If you go into the modes and go into individual and go into settings on that, there's a chassis option which has got comfort and sport. And what surprised me is that this car is quite firm in comfort and it's even firmer in sport. So I've quite quickly decided that I think comfort really is all you need for a UK road. And I've also decided that it actually seems to be quite firm, even in comfort mode. So there's no normal mode now, it's either comfort or sport. Normal's nowhere to be seen, even in the overall modes. Yeah, eco, comfort, sport, individual. So yeah, it's a firm car, feels like TCR on 18s and passive dampers, which I don't mind, but I'm not sure everybody else will like that. let's talk a little bit more about the chassis though, because it's not just about making it harder or softer. You can buy DCC if you're a bit worried, and if you're going to buy a car with 19s, I'd highly recommend you did that. The other changes though are to the spring rate. So they've made the car basically firmer with the view of making it steer from the rear a bit when you get to corners to mitigate understeer. On the road, I don't really have a problem with the TCR understeering, but on the track it did become like a bit one-dimensional, which I was really disappointed about. I'm already thinking about changing the front camber and so on, and I think they've already done that for us in this car, as we will find out. So let's click a pedal. We're in comfort mode, which is not a wallow fest, no way. And by the way, it does make a noise, this car, and it's not bad. So in this corner, which, you know, just doesn't feel like it's going to understeer at all. It's alive, really is alive, and it's a very strange car because when you drive it normally, it just feels pretty normal. It is a little bit firmer than you'd expect for a Golf, but when you get it on a road like this, it's magic. It really is. I'd say, I don't believe I'm saying this, but it feels better than my TCR, but I think there's only one way to resolve that. Let's go and get in the TCR and drive this road right now. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of my own Mark 7.5 Golf GTI TCR. I bloody love this car. I've had it for 4 months. I've done track days in it, I've been on holidays in it, I've commuted in it every day. It's a genuine daily driver, and I've had a lot of fun on B roads like this. Now, just like the new GTI, it's got the VAQ front differential, which means it pulls itself out of corners like this, unlike any front wheel drive car ever should do. It's incredible. It does a little bit more work in this car because it's got 290 horsepower versus 245 of the Mark 8, and you could say that's the reason why it's not a fair comparison, but you can buy either for around £30,000, just over, and I think that means this is real food for thought, because this is the most sophisticated Mark 7.5 GTI, and that means it's a very serious car. Now, we're in normal mode to keep a sort of level playing field, and this does feel a little bit more compliant, and the damping feels a bit more sophisticated. So we've got a bit more squidge in the dampers, but when it comes back, it feels very well controlled, and that's because we've got more expensive suspension. Simple as that. We have DCC. But where the 8 GTI excels, I think, is in the feel in the corner. It feels more neutral. I don't think on the road this car will understeer, but on track it will. I've experienced it, and I was quite disappointed, to be honest. Never felt it on the road, but you can feel it's almost there driving on the road, and it does sort of harm your confidence a bit. In the 8 GTI, on those corners, it felt a lot more neutral, and that really is an eye-opener. And that's bearing in mind that car's on the standard suspension. If you buy it with DCC, it probably will be even better if you buy the Club Sport model, which is coming soon as well. That car is going to be an incredible piece of kit, and I hate to say it, and I didn't think it was possible, particularly on the same MQB platform, it's going to knock this car for 6. Okay guys, well, I think I better come to a clear conclusion, because this is a very significant car for GTI people like us. Now, the looks, they are very divisive. In fact, probably 90% of people don't like them. Whether they'll get better with time, I can't say. It reminds me of Mark II. When it went to Mark III, everybody hated the Mark III, but in time it became accepted. It was more the dynamics that have left it with a bit of a bad reputation. What I do know is 7.5, whilst it looks good now, the more time I spend with the newer cars, the more this is beginning to look old to my eyes. So give it a year or two and it will look a bit dated, particularly inside. The biggest surprise about this car though, and I wasn't expecting any surprises, bearing in mind it's just simply a rebodied Mark 7.5 GTI performance, in theory anyway, is the chassis. Now, I wasn't expecting this car to feel so different to drive to my TCR and other GTI performances I've driven in the past, but it did. And it's not enough to make this car the best Golf GTI ever, because there's just not enough power. The TCR is really exciting. It gets the hairs up on the back of your neck with 290 horsepower through the front wheels. But when later models of the Mk8 come along, for a start the Club Sport, there may even be others, I do think the Mk8 Golf GTI has got the potential to be the best ever non-limited production Golf GTI. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volkswizard video, which wouldn't have been possible without the guys at Inchcape Volkswagen Cheltenham. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Please comment, I do read them all. Please share, and as ever, please subscribe. And I'll see you for the next one really soon.